Welcome to Geopolitics and Empire Croatia edition. We're here in Dalmatia with Max Igana, and it's a bit of a funny story because last year I was at Acapulco at your bar, and I was staying, I think, next to your home, and it's funny to find you now here. Random coincidence that you're here in town by me in Croatia. And so, kako si, Max? Šta ima? How's it going?
Good. It's good to be here.
And real quick, for some listeners who are not aware of Max Igana and Crow House, if you could just tell us whatever you want in a few minutes about the work you do yourself.
I'm terrible at self-promotion. I'm just an independent voice that's been speaking out for a long time. Like so many of us. I've managed to get myself banned pretty well everywhere. Banned on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, iTunes, SoundCloud, like everywhere you can think of. But just an independent voice trying to sort of make a difference and speak up for the world, speak up for humanity, and attempting to change the direction that we're going in, like so many others are doing at this period in our history. So, just not much to say, really. I was a musician for most of my life and started doing this instead just because it kind of needed to be done.
Just to start, big picture, as I always like to, and then drill on down, so what are sort of your thoughts of where we're at, with this project, this program, who's running the show, from your vantage point, what's their operating system, what's their plan, and so forth?
Well, people have got to, when you even look at the world, you've got to notice that, what's going on in your country, it's going on in my country, it's going on in every country. And none of this really makes sense if you've got the world as it's presented to us to be. If it's a system of independent countries and independent nations and independent governments, then why is every country going in the same direction? You've got to ask that question. And what I've described this as, like for many years, is we have a criminal cabal. We have a multinational, multi-generational criminal cabal masquerading as a system of governments and nations who play all the people off against each other and make them believe they need government there to protect them from the other governments. And it's just one big scam. It's a scam designed to give us, put us in a prison and to convince us to give our rights away and give everything that makes us human away. The world is run by very, very evil people, and it's in every single country. You can't differentiate between the countries. And what they're doing, like through fear and fear of terrorism and fear of climate change and all the rubbish that they cook up, they're getting us to lock ourselves down into a surveillance system. I mean, they tried it with COVID. They put out a certain, get you to go and lock yourself down and take the jab or else. And a lot of people didn't comply, but a lot of people did. And that was kind of a test run for what they're doing now. And they're planning on a new scamdemic as well. So they just had an event, I think, or they're having it next month, called Pegasus, which is like Event 201 that they had just before COVID, where they ran through the scenario of what they would do if there was a coronavirus outbreak. And then there was a coronavirus outbreak, of course. So now they're doing that again of how they're going to handle the next pandemic, which means they're about to stage another one. I would say probably even early next year. Wouldn't surprise me. So, but that's the way you've got to look at it. I mean, it's a criminal cabal, and we're being tricked into believing that we need government to protect us, and we don't. Government. I said in my first film back in 2008, World War III has already started. It's a war being waged by the government and the bankers and the elite of the world against the people of the world. And it's a soft kill. It's a soft war. Nobody really knows it's going on, but it is. It's already going on. One of the most important things that's happened to us over the last couple of 100 years is a complete loss of life skills. We've become completely dependent upon a system which puts us basically at the bottom of the food chain. The whole system is designed to support the economic model, and we are the most expendable thing within that model. And people have been pushed into cities. They've lost all their life skills. They're all truckitarians. They live from supermarkets. All you got to do is stop the trucks flowing, and nobody's going to know how to do anything. Kids these days don't even know how to plant a seed, half of them, They've got to read an instruction book on how to grow a lettuce. It's just unbelievable. So that's kind of the situation we're in. Very, very dangerous situation. where we become completely dependent upon a system which is run by corporate criminals. And it's important that people see this and see where we're going. I think one of the most important things people can do is build community with the people they know and get back in touch with their life skills.
Yeah, and I'd like to stress, because something that I've been freaking out a lot about, and I've got multiple citizenships, and I'm just seeing them accelerate in every single, we're here in Croatia. We both live in Mexico at the moment. I'm also from the US, and I'm seeing them implement the same strategies. Like here in Croatia, we have the osobna, which is like your national ID that you have to get to do anything. In Mexico now, they're bringing, we were talking about this last night, the cuerpo biométrico, the biometric Mexican national ID. They're bringing in real ID. And it's really like, I get listeners, I had a listener send me an email a few weeks ago. They're bringing in the biometric Mexican ID. Aren't you going to leave? And I'm like, well, where am I going to go? Because it's just your further thought that this is happening in every single nation, right? There's no...
Exactly. And I think it's going to be a little slower in Mexico. And that's one of the reasons I'm there. I mean, 60% of people in Mexico don't even have bank accounts. So it's going to be slower to come in. But they're bringing it in through travel, basically. Anyone who wants to travel. I mean, I noticed coming through the airports now, it's all biometrics. Coming here to Croatia, it was all biometrics. I didn't have to show my boarding pass or anything. Just stand in front of the camera and a little green arrow comes up and that's it. So once you've shown your passport and you've gone through that customs area and you're at the gate, there's no need for any more ID or any of that stuff. It's all biometrics. And this is coming in everywhere. And soon, they get you to renew your bank card every 5 years, and you've got to renew this and renew that. Soon you're going to need digital ID even to get online to do anything. And it's coming in every country, and you can escape it as much as you can for a while. But, I said on my last video report, if you really want to save the world, every country needs to stand up and basically overthrow their governments, realise that they're not valid governments. It's a criminal cabal. That is every problem we face in the world, whether it's starvation, whether it's homelessness, whether it's mass immigration, all this stuff happening is happening because it's legislated to happen by politicians who are sitting in abuse of the office that they hold. They've breached the trust of the people, the trust that the people gave them. They've abdicated their privilege to govern, which is a privilege. It's not a right. But people can't see that. They see there's a problem, and they think, well, I'll have to petition the government to change it. No, the government's the one who created it, and they did it deliberately. And they're doing it all around the world. We've got to see what this system is. It's not really a system of governments and nations. Like I said, it's a multinational, multi-generational criminal cabal. Until we're prepared to identify that and call it out for what it is and get rid of these people, then we're just going to go where we're going to go. I mean, we've got a kakistocracy running the world. Kakistocracy defined as rule by the very worst elements of society who rule exclusively in their own interests to the permanent detriment of all other classes. Essentially rule by the shit people. That's what kakistocracy is. And that's what we've got. And people have to identify that and see that and stand up and do something about it. I mean, your government is invalid. They've invalidated themselves, even through what's going on in Gaza Strip, what's going on in Palestine. This is a genocide, live-streamed genocide happening for the last 2 years. Any politician who's supporting this is a war criminal, regardless of what they say, regardless of what their little law things say and their little paragraphs of law and phrases of law. This is an open war crime. This is whatever excuse you've got, you don't kill and murder children. You don't blow their hands and feet up. You don't do what they've done to Gaza. And call yourself a human being, call yourself a politician, call yourself just or valid in any way, shape or form. The fact that they've allowed our countries to be overrun with migrants and all the stuff they've done. This is all treason. All of it is treason. And until the people are prepared to call that out for what it is and stop petitioning these people for change, then we're not going to get anywhere. And we're reaching that point now. Well, we've almost reached the point of no return if the people don't stand up and do something about this, because ultimately, you can blame the governments, you can blame the people with small hats, blame the Jesuits, the Freemasons, anyone you want to blame. Ultimately, it's our tolerance of wrong behavior which has caused all of this to happen.
Yes, so many thoughts here. I wanted to jest. You mentioned homelessness, and hey, isn't Trump going to solve homelessness? He's federalizing the police and bringing in National Guard from town to town. I mean, it's maybe just on that thought, you know, it's total Trojan horse. I've been already for years now saying Trump is the new world order, and people just don't. You're really seeing people who you wouldn't have thought co-opted, basically now pushing the new world order. I refer now to Alex Jones and InfoWars. It's like they sound like Fox News from a few years ago.
I mean, Alex Jones the other day said he approves of invading Venezuela. You know, I'm not one for a regime change, but I approve of this. You know, he's bought and paid for the whole thing. But you know, they're losing the information war. The fact that Benjamin Netanyahu, who's out there doing the podcast circuit, shows you how much they're losing the information war. So, and the alternate media, I mean, most of it's not alternate media at all. There's not a lot of people actually telling you the truth. And this whole conflict in Gaza has exposed all of them. I mean, anybody who hasn't at least mentioned what's going on, this is major. And I've said for so many years, you know, Palestine is the greatest moral dilemma we face in the world today. And if we don't do something about it, then the way of Palestine will be the way of the world. You know, they're showing you what they're prepared to do in Gaza, what they're prepared to do in all of our countries. And Trump is an absolute player. I mean, he's a war criminal. He's as bad as Netanyahu. He's the one who's funding all this. He supports everything they're doing in Gaza, which is blatant ethnic cleansing. I've got videos of children with their hands and feet blown off, for God's sake, and they're forced to walk around on the stumps of their ankles and they've got no hands. I mean, who does this? Who does this to children, and who says that it's okay? You know, Trump's saying we're going to own Gaza. America's going to take control of the whole thing. You can't live there. It's a war zone, you know. Well, they've turned it into all that, you know. And they're just going, they're gassing them now. They gassed 30 people this morning, or 300 people this morning. It's incredible, some of the stuff they're doing there. And they're just going in and cleansing the entire Gaza Strip. You know, the foreign minister, Smotrich, or whatever his name is.
Smotrich.
Yeah. He said that the people in Gaza have the choice to leave or starve to death. That's it. That's the only choice they've got. And even another minister saying, you know, we're killing them too quickly. We need to find more painful ways of killing them. I mean, this is the mentality of these people. And they dare to say it's not genocide, it's not ethnic cleansing. You know, it's incredible. And this is what Trump is supporting. Trump has been a player since day one. You know, drain the swamp. He didn't drain the swamp. He renamed it to government-protected wetlands is all he did. Well, it's got to be done through the masses, through the people, like mass awareness, mass awakening. Again, I don't even think we need violence. We just need people to understand that they don't have the authority that you think they have. And if they ever did, well, they've abdicated that privilege through their actions over the last 4 or 5 years through COVID, all this stuff. I mean, they tried to kill half the population with these injections. They've already killed hundreds of thousands of people through that injection. And Trump calls himself the father of the vaccine. How can anybody trust this guy? I mean, honestly, it's incredible.
And just to go back to sort of finalize the point, the technocracy topic, as you mentioned, Gaza, and many people have reported from Dan Cohen and many others. You know, you got the Unit 8200. You know, that's famous. That's sort of almost like the cyber brain for the world, because a lot of countries now are using these Israeli spy tech. Mexico was the first government to buy Pegasus spyware. Now they have Titan, and it's got all of our data. They know exactly where we are. You know, the lavender stuff, the drones now, the AI kill lists, and you know, the electronic concentration camp that is Gaza. That people have said, you know, that they're prototyping that, and then they're going to bring that to the rest of the world. You know, where I live in Guadalajara, I found out that Guadalajara is a de facto 15-minute city. Just the last year, they announced they're going to make a 15-minute city of Mexico City. I assume they're going to chop it up into multiple 15-minute Hunger Game districts. And Sonora, another state in Mexico, they announced that a few months ago. They made a deal with Foxconn. They're going to turn the capital, Hermosillo, into a 15-minute smart city and then replicate that to the other parts of the state. And so, you know, how well do you think they could implement this, as one of my past guests, Edwin Black, called it, I like his term, the algorithm ghetto? You know, how bad do you think it could get?
Oh, it could get absolutely horrendous. It could get the most dystopian gulag system you've ever imagined, or beyond what you could imagine, if we allow it to happen. That's the thing. It all comes down to us. If we allow this to happen. So I mean, it's got to a point now where it's very difficult to stop if people don't stand up and realise what their governments are doing and realise it's all one system. You know, I've been very optimistic and had great faith in humanity doing my podcast like for almost 20 years now. The solution lies with us. I mean, this is why I continue to do what I do and continue to try to wake people up, as futile as it may seem sometimes. I mean, the other option is to just forget about it and walk away and let it happen. And you can't do that. So you've got to push back in the way that you can, but we need the weight of numbers. And if we've got enough aware people, all it takes is that word no. That's all it takes. You see, realise that the government only has the authority over you that you grant them, and they're all in abuse of office. They've all breached the right of that authority or the privilege of that authority. They've abdicated their privilege to govern just through what they've done. If it gets to the point where, you know, they're going to be violent against us because we're saying no, well, then we may have to resort to counter-violence. But we shouldn't be the ones who start the violence. That's counterproductive. You know, you just end up, you know, with insurrection, and the media plays it the way they play it. If you can get enough people to wake up and just look at the world, like look at what the world was like in the 70s or the 80s, and look at what it's like now. Look at how mass surveilled you are in everything you do. And it's not because of the terrorists. You know, it's not because of any of the reasons they give you. Look at the amount of freedoms you don't have now that you did have as recently as 10 or 20 years ago. And you start to see where the problem is. It's whether the people are going to allow it, and it's whether the people are going to wake up. I mean, unfortunately, it is almost getting to the point of no return. But through that, I mean, a lot of people, like I said, they're seeing it in their own backyard now, so they don't have any choice but to realise that this isn't happening in every single country on earth out of coincidence. It's been orchestrated to be this way, and the only ones that are going to stop it is us. You can't expect the government to stop it because the government is the one who's done it. You know, and all of these governments work together as one criminal cabal. You know, and again, you know, it gets to the point of collapse, and then people, they turn to government, please save me. It's the government that caused the collapse, you know. If you would just take responsibility for yourself, develop ties in your own community and stand up for yourselves and create cooperatives with your neighbours and things, we'd heal this whole situation. So maybe it's getting to that point, you know, that's what we're going to have to do. So I don't think there's any way to stop the direction the ship of state is sailing while the state still exists. It's got to get to the point where we just remove all support for the state and the state will collapse under its own weight. You know, because these people that are doing this to you are just people like you. There's no reason you owe them any allegiance or need to respect their authority in any way. You know, like I said, even if their authority was valid, well, they've abdicated that privilege through their actions. So you know, we're just not prepared to call it. We want to keep our head down and hope it'll all go away. Well, it's not going to go away. And there's no way you can keep your head down. It's just going to keep coming if we continue to comply with it. We've got to stop complying with our own slavery. That's really the only solution, you know. And there's no valid contract you've ever had with government. If we can get enough people to understand this, then they simply stand up and say, hey, no, we're not doing this anymore. We're going in this direction. You know, and you guys, you're all in abuse of office, so get out of the building. And there's nothing they can do against that if enough people can get that into their head. But if they don't, well, unfortunately, the sleeping masses are just going to drag us off the cliff with them. And there's not a lot we can do about it. If we try violence or insurrection, we'll just be outlawed, we'll be named as terrorists or whatever, and we'll be taken out. That's the problem. People say non-violent revolution will never work because they've got all the guns, they've got all the police. I mean, the police are a big problem. The police are like a wall of Kevlar armed clad stupidity, like a brick wall of stupidity between you and freedom. You know, the police are there to protect the government, not the people, not to, you know, uphold the rights of the people or protect freedom of the people or anything like that, not to protect society. They're there to protect government. They're there to enforce law, no matter how invalid that law is, and that's a huge problem. But I think even a lot of the police, I mean, if you get enough of the population, you get 80% of the population to stand up against the government, are the police really going to turn against their own families and their own brothers and sisters when it's that many people? Or are they going to suddenly turn around and side with the people and realise that this government is a criminal government and they need to be replaced, otherwise we're not going to survive as a nation? It's really getting to that point, and I think we're going to see that. So, you know, with all the negative stuff that's happening, we knew it had to get this bad, but we are birthing a new world, and birth is a painful process. And I think it's going to get worse yet, but I think there is a light at the end of the tunnel. If we can just maintain our confidence, maintain our energy levels and our positive attitude, then I think we will go through it. See this as a time of great opportunity, because it is. I mean, never before in history has the workings of the mechanism been laid so bare. Everybody can see it now. All they've got to do is choose to look. And it's getting to the point where you can't not look. You can't choose not to look anymore, because it's in your face. And it's affecting everybody on a personal level in their own backyard from the ground up. So that's what's going to bring about change, I think.